In this video, you are going to learn about multiple linear regression. If you haven't watched it yet, please watch the previous video on simple linear regression to learn more about what a regression is. Here are some links to websites that we used in order to make this video, so please check those out in order to learn more. Today, our data, remember, are just for educational purposes, and they shouldn't inform your opinion about the subject matter. Our research question today is, can we predict the speaking score in learners of English? Imagine that we recruited 100 participants to perform a speaking test. We recorded their age, anxiety levels, average study time, and whether or not they lived in an English-speaking country for any amount of time beforehand. Remember that this scenario and data are not real and are only for educational purposes. First, let's load some packages that we'll be using. If you don't have these packages yet, go ahead and install them with install packages. Now let's get our data. All right, let's take a look at what our data look like today. We can see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 independent variables that we're interested in, and we have 1 dependent variable, speaking score. This is what sets multiple linear regression apart from simple linear regression. As you can see with the second assumption, for multiple linear regression, you should have 2 or more independent variables that are either measured at the continuous or nominal level. So whether or not you lived in an English-speaking country is measured at the nominal level, either yes or no. 0 is no, 1 is yes. And the rest of these are measured more at the continuous level. So now that we've looked at our data a little bit, we see that we have age, anxiety level, study time, whether or not you lived in an English-speaking country, and we have the speaking score. Take a look whenever you have a moment at the different assumptions which guide the rest of the code. Okay, whenever you make your model for the multiple linear regression, you put your outcome variable and then you put your various independent variables. So we'll run that code and then give ourselves an overview of the model. We'll look again at this at the end of the video, but I wanted to give you a sense of what it looks like now. Here are your coefficients, your R squared, your F statistic, and your significance level. Do we have any outliers? It looks like we're returning an outlier, but we don't think it's an extreme outlier, so we'll keep it this time around. We create a scaled model in order to get our standardized regression coefficients. And this is something that we can include in our write-up if we want to publish these results after. With the diagnostics, we get additional statistics that might be helpful as you explore your data. We won't go into them now, but as you're exploring, you can take a look and check out what those mean. Here we have our Durbin-Watson statistic. And we can see that our statistic is close to 2, which is what we're looking for. Next up, we look at a histogram of our residuals, and we can see that it's approximately normally distributed. And we look at a normality plot. You can see that although we have some cases along the tails that don't look like they're normally distributed, we're approximately normally distributed. Next up, we want to check that our studentized residuals and predicted values are linearly related. So we complete this code, make a frame, and then check, and we can see that we do have a linear relationship here. Next up, we also want to make sure that each independent variable is linearly related to the dependent variable. And to test this, we use partial regression plots. And we can see that in each case, we do have a linear relationship. Lastly, we're interested in multicollinearity. And to check that, we check the VIF level, and we can see that in each case, we're falling within the acceptable range. So that's good. And lastly, we can look again at our summary of the model and pull the relevant information that we need from it in order to investigate our study and in order to do a write-up about our results.